Now it's time to answer a question submitted by you. Today's question comes from Chris. Chris asks, I hate renting because I feel like I'm throwing money away. A friend of mine told me that I could buy a house with 3% down. Should I do that? That, Chris, is a great question. Renting can indeed feel like you're throwing money away, especially if mortgages in the area cost less than renting. That sort of circumstance is dependent not only on location, but the season that the real estate market is going through in that particular location. It's not something that is necessarily true, it's something that is sometimes true. But in the long run, I agree with you. Renting is not the long-term solution that you want to be looking for as you pursue your hope-filled financial future. The majority of millionaires, as recorded in studies that have been conducted by Ramsey Solution, have a good chunk of their millionaire net worth tied up in not only their 401k from their employer, but also a paid-for home. Imagine owning your own home without having a mortgage on it. You no longer have the largest chunk of your paycheck coming out and going to your housing expense every month, and you can apply your greatest wealth building asset, your income, to other facets of your financial future, other goals that you have in front of you outlined in your budget. So our long-term goal should really be to own a house outright. That doesn't mean renting doesn't have a place at all. There are certain seasons in life where either you can't get a mortgage or your housing situation is temporary. And if you are going to be in a place for, say, 5 years or less, for example, imagine you're planning on getting married or having children in the near future, and those life changes would necessitate a change in dwelling, potentially. Historically speaking, if you are planning on moving in the next 5 years or less, if you have a move in the near future, closing costs and then costs for when you sell the home are probably going to outweigh any gain that you're going to have if you own a home for that short duration. That's not always the case, and the crazy real estate market that we've had has definitely proven to be an exception to that. But in general, short-term situations are better for renting versus owning. You have a lot more flexibility on getting out of a house in short order if you're renting as opposed to needing to sell. And if the real estate market is slow or even down, you might be looking at a loss or having to wait a good deal of time before you can tap into the equity of your home that you list for sale. So renting has its place, and it's not throwing money away. You are paying rent for the conveniences that come with renting and the flexibility for short-term home situations. But again, you want to be focusing on having a paid-for home for the long term, especially by the time you hit retirement. The average millionaire will pay off their home in about 11 years of getting a mortgage. Now, your question specifies you can get a home by putting 3% down. Now, that is the bare minimum down payment that you could be putting out there. And you need to know about something when you're putting a down payment on a house. And that is if your down payment, the equity that you'd have in the house after the purchase, is less than 20% of the home's value, well, you're going to run into something called PMI, Private Mortgage Insurance. Private mortgage insurance is a insurance premium that you are paying in order to pay for insurance for the mortgage company, for the lender who's giving you the money. If you don't make your payments, that insurance is supposed to help your lender recoup their loss. And they don't pay for that premium on their own. If you have less than a 20% down payment, they consider you to be a higher risk client and it is mandated that you pay the insurance premium. And that can add a couple $100 a month to your mortgage bill, depending on how big your mortgage is. And we don't want to deal with private mortgage insurance if we can avoid it. So if you have the ability to save up to a 20% down payment in short order before you need to be seeking a permanent home situation, or you can save up to at least 10% of a down payment and know that you can get your equity up to 20% in short order, say the real estate values are climbing radically and you're in an area projected to continue growing, well, you could get into a home, pay private mortgage insurance for a little bit, and refinance once you hit that 20% equity due to the growth in the market. That is taking on a risk, though. The only reason I would personally ever go and purchase a home with as little as 3% down would be if I was expecting to stay in that home for at least 7 years, 5 to 7 years. That way I could start putting some good equity into it. And I go in with the idea that I'm going to be throwing extra money at the mortgage. I would want to make sure that the home that I'm buying results in a payment that is less than the maximum recommended. If your monthly mortgage payment is less than 35% of your take-home pay, well, you have the ability to pour in more money and build up equity faster. And if you have a plan where you can get past PMI faster after buying the house with very little down. You know you're going to stay in it. And the equity that you acquire in that time is going to outweigh the loss that you might incur if you're renting and quote unquote throwing money away and saving up for that down payment. So there are a lot of facets to consider. I would talk to a professional real estate agent who can help you run the numbers on that, and someone who knows the real estate market, knows what might be happening in the future. They can guide you with that. And if you're concerned about buying a home with 3% down, all the factors, the pros, the cons, the trade-offs that are involved with that, and you're looking for someone to help you understand a comprehensive financial picture when you make that home purchase, well, that's what I do as a financial coach. You can go to the website, sign up for a free consultation, and I'm here to help you. I hope that answers your question, Chris. Thank you so much for submitting it. If you have a question that you want to be answered on the podcast, please leave it in the comments below or send us a message through the little form on the bottom page of our website, HopeFilledFinancial.com, and we'll make sure that your question becomes a part of the podcast.